Hey all, here OS Reviews. Smart home products are getting increasingly popular, and robot vacuum cleaners have also gotten better and better, especially the budget models over the past 2 or 3 years. We've seen brands like EU-Fi, owned by Anker, also iLife, AlphaWise, to name a few, starting to bring out some pretty competitive robots for under $200, whereas this market was previously dominated by iRobot, but their products are much more expensive. Today we're taking a look at another budget model from Amarey called the A800, and it sells again for under 200 bucks. It has a very thin portfolio that can slide easily underneath sofas and other furniture that you have. It also has a pretty large dustbin capacity of 500 milliliters. This model claims to have 1,400 PA of suction strength, and it claims to work really well with pet and human hair. Another special feature here is it's extremely quiet. It only produces 58 decibels of noise, which is much lower than its competition, which typically produces over 100 decibels. So they claim that you can still use this and rest or even sleep and take a nap, and it shouldn't wake you up, which is pretty cool. Now, compared to more expensive models, maybe by Samsung, as aforementioned iRobot, one of the downsides here is it's still using a random algorithm. That is, it will go in a random pattern in the house or in the room to try and sweep everything up. And if you leave it running for long enough, usually about an hour and a half to 2 hours, it will get all the spots covered. However, it doesn't actually use machine vision or AI or machine learning to actually know the path that it's already traveled and avoid that in the future. This one does have a HEPA filter that prevents kind of dust from circulating back into the air. Again, extremely thin, only 2.7 inches to slide underneath beds as well as sofas, and it does have sensors that will try to prevent it from colliding against walls as well as falling off stairs. Now, something to point out here is it doesn't have built-in Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, again like some of the more expensive models, but all of the main features can be controlled either directly on the robot or using its built-in remote. In the box, aside from the robot vacuum cleaner, we have the aforementioned remote control. The remote takes two AAA batteries, which are included. You'll also find an assortment of cleaning brushes, including an extra pair, in addition to an extra HEPA filter. Finally, we have the smart charging dock, and we also have the quick user manuals. Now, something that's not included here would be the IR blockers, which you sometimes see, again, on more expensive models, that prevents the robot from going into an area of a room. Taking a closer look at the design, the construction quality is kind of unique. They've gone with a tempered glass, so it does attract fingerprints pretty easily, but it is easy to just wipe down, and underneath we have what looks like almost a carbon fiber texture. So it definitely looks more premium than the price would suggest. All the competitors that we've seen previously for $200 have gone with just plastic. So there's an instruction here that says to switch on a manual key on the side, which we can see is located here underneath a protective cap if we want to actually turn the robot on. Otherwise, we do have some pretty rugged looking wheels that can move and allow it to travel over different types of surfaces. For example, a carpet or a rug, and transition between maybe a hardwood floor versus a carpet. It should be able to get through some of those obstacles. We have, again, the auxiliary brushes as well as the charging contact points. And here we have also the dust bin. And then to empty out the contents, you actually use the top here, the arrow, and you pull this off, and that's how you dump everything out. Lastly, the front bumper here, again, does have some padding and movement to it, so it doesn't hit against a surface too harshly if it does bump into something by accident. But we have lots of different infrared sensors that will try to prevent it from getting too close to objects. Now, doing a quick size comparison, here it is next to the iLife A4S, which we did a review on over a year ago. Really different view looking downwards, the iLife on the left and the Amarey on the right. And now we have the AlphaWise ZK8077, but in this case the AlphaWise is larger than the Amarey. So overall this sits between those other competitors. So a quick demo of some of its core features. As it turns on, you can see there is a LED light strip that circles the power key and glows blue. Looks pretty futuristic. So we do have, again, the time here on the remote when it's not in use, so you can set it up. If they tap on the home, that will go and find its charging base. These four arrow keys are for moving the robot in a particular direction, kind of like an RC car. The center key here will actually start the robot and begin its cleaning. A maximum suction mode if you have a lot of dirt or grit in the carpet that you need to pick up. And we also have a timer mode if you want to set different durations. So let's just tap on begin, for example, and it will begin shortly here. Again, this is just on the normal mode, and this is the amount of noise that it produces. Now let's try the spot cleaning mode, a demo using some tissue paper. It's important because a lot of robot vacuum cleaners can struggle with this, especially if the pieces and particles are really light. Because it's a vacuum, it sometimes just blows the pieces around and doesn't actually pick it up very effectively. And it's just going to go in a circle and then slowly get a little bit wider and wider. Again, even with the really light pieces of paper, it's not really blowing it away as it's doing its cleaning. As you can see there, the peripheral arms here are doing a good job of trying to pick up and squeeze everything towards the vacuum cleaner. And now a demo of the edge cleaning mode. Let's see if it's successful in that. It will try and find a wall to begin with, and then from there it will begin working along the corners and moving along. Moving it back into the center here of the room, let's just begin a full sweep and just see how the algorithm works in terms of covering the surface area. That was about just 5 minutes of cleaning. Of course, it's a very small area that we're in, but you can see it's actually covered, I would say, 98% of the surface, and it mostly used a zigzag pattern before trying some random edge sweeping and then just going around again. So it actually is pretty effective as far as covering most of the carpet area, even though it doesn't have a route recognition and know exactly where it's traveled before. So it can last for around an hour and a half on a single charge, roughly 100 to 120 minutes in my testing, which is pretty satisfactory. Now during the search process, the light on the top here actually turns a faint purple. It's a little bit lighter than the blue that it's usually at, and the dock here also has the LED turned on, and afterwards it will just begin charging. And we see that we've gotten actually surprisingly good amount of dust already in this compartment. If you look closely on the wheels here, you can still see some longer pieces of hair that are kind of tied across that you have to pull off yourself when cleaning the vacuum, but it's nowhere near as obtrusive as on some of its competitors. Sometimes they would clog up and prevent the robot from running. So that's been our hands-on review of the Amarey A800 robot vacuum cleaner. For under $200, it brings a lot to the table. Performance is surprisingly strong. It's actually better in our testing compared to the iLife A4S and the AlphaWise when it comes to the effectiveness of picking up pet and human hair, which is really impressive considering it's also the quietest out of the three. Overall, this proves that you don't need to spend an arm and a leg on a more expensive unit to get very satisfactory performance, and you don't care about the more fancy connected Wi-Fi or Bluetooth functionality. I think this is a great model to take a closer look at, and again, I would actually put it slightly above those other two models for home and consumer use. It definitely has a more striking design, at least in my opinion as well. So props to Amarey. Even though it's a brand that's relatively unknown, I think that this is a pretty solid product overall. You can check out more details if interested in the links down below, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.